Deadlock is a game still in development, which means a lot of stuff is unfinished, and that includes many visuals. Ew. So today, instead of focusing on new heroes they could add like I did in my previous videos, you can check those out on my channel after, I want to take a look at community-made visual redesigns that could come to the game, including character models and other stuff too. I briefly mentioned character model reworks in one of my previous videos, but this time I wanted to go more in depth and take a look at what Deadlock's community came up with for some of this outdated stuff. And let's start with one of the most anticipated model reworks, Yamato. Yamato's model has suffered a lot of cyberbullying, but it is understandable, just look at it. Obviously, this model is a placeholder they made back when Valve was developing a futuristic game called Neon Prime, but it's been years at this point and we still have this. The model is especially hard to look at when you compare it to all the new characters coming out, who have all those details and cool weapons. Meanwhile, Yamato still has a plastic sword. Obviously, there are concept arts from Valve that they were considering, but those were posted years ago at this point, and I already briefly mentioned them before. I think there is a decent chance the final result won't even look like any of those, but I want to highlight this one. Yamato is a leader of a Japanese criminal organization, so I think as a leader she has to look intimidating and, you know, tough as fuck. And this art, in my opinion, is perfect for a criminal boss. I love the big hair and the blood moon sword. This one is really good, and I think if you just look at her silhouette, you already get this association with someone who stands on business. Maybe it's the pose, but I think it works super well. But when it comes to community-made designs, there is this one very popular model that you can install as a mod. It's made by Stylized Senzu on Reddit. There is a big chance you've already seen someone playing with it. Compared to the concept art picture, this one has quite a different vibe. The silhouette matches the model we have now a lot more, because obviously it's a mod for the current model, but I think the author did quite a good job here. I think the tattoos and her facial expressions make her seem like a real criminal, but I just don't think that she looks as bossy as I would like her to. What I liked about the concept art I showed you was the fact she is wider in it, and obviously the author had to work with the current crappy model we have in-game, but I think I'm now converted to a thick Yamato believer. I do think a wider frame would suit a character like that more, which is exactly the reason I enjoyed this next art by Nefarious Nova. The author really went hard on the Yakuza look, and I do believe that it works best for Yamato. I love her big ass sword here, the facial expression looks like she's from Wildroom, and the colors being red, gold and black looks really nice. I also love how her hair turns red and goes crazy in her old form. Would be really fitting. The outfit itself, looking more masculine, in my opinion, is perfect, because if you don't know, Yamato's actual name is Kaori, and she named herself Yamato after her brother who was killed. Because of that, I thought that her wearing a more manly fit just makes sense, in my headcanon at least. Okay, enough about Yamato, what about everyone's favorite Ankh, Grey Talon, who also looks abysmal. The main problem I have with him is the outfit, I think. First of all, it's very plain, but also the colors just suck. And GT would be a character I played a lot more if not for his current model. And I do think the reason he is one of the less popular characters is his looks. The first redesign I want to show you is this art by Aft the Egg on Reddit. Now that looks cool. First of all, the outfit being black with an orange stripe works really well. It also looks like he has some shirt underneath, and of course the arm he's missing, being a wooden prosthetic, fits incredibly well. I do believe that giving him a metal arm is not the same, and this design decision is fire. His other hand has this glove to hold birds, which is another good detail, and his hair is much cooler in this version. I also like the glowing green eye. I imagine he gets this animation when he activates his ult, and it's like he's looking through his owl's POV with that eye. Overall, just an amazing redesign, and I hope that the final result looks similar in spirit to this. There are some other cool designs, like this one by Wimple on Reddit or Gustavnis. His outfit looks a lot more traditional here, and he overall looks much older. I don't know exactly how old Talon is supposed to be, but I imagine at least 60 or maybe even older, so that old man look is not out of the question. Another redesign I found is this concept art by Just Go to Talk on the Deadlock forums. This concept has a lot of cool details. The author even included a custom font for his name and everything. The fit here is awesome, but my favorite part has to be the prosthetic arms that has those bird talons. A very fitting detail. and the mask he puts on when casting the ult. Author also mentioned that if he gets enough stacks with his spiritual owl, he keeps the mask on his face at all times, which is another detail I love. Then you got the weapon. His bow here looks a lot more futuristic and mechanical compared to other concepts. But I think Grey Talon, despite his age, could use modern technology as long as it helps him with his revenge. So I'm totally fine with that approach, but I do like the classic bow look. The author also says, I wanted the bow to feel weighty and heavy to emphasize that its wielder possesses inhuman strength. At the same time, I removed balancing elements and the sight, assuming that a legendary archer wouldn't really need them. The last Talon art I wanted to show you is this one by Nefarious Nova. I think this concept is the closest to the model we have now, but more detailed and just looks much better. If Valve doesn't want Talon to look too different from the base model, I think this is a good example of what he could end up looking like. It keeps a lot of the detail, like a metal arm and this orange outfit that only partially covers his torso, but the colors and details look much better. I especially like the dream catcher he has on his hip. Could be a cool reference to the fact Talon is a Native American. And since we are on the topic of the Baxter Society characters, let's talk a bit about Shiv. But before that, if you are enjoying the video, I want to remind you to sub to the channel and leave a like. I recently hit 1k subs, which is fucking awesome. Thank you all, and let's talk about my favorite Pompadour guy. I actually don't hate Shiv's model at all. I think it looks pretty good as is, and maybe it needs just some tiny tweaks to be in line with all the new characters. But the core ideas behind his design are all good in my opinion. I think this art by Nefarious Nova is very similar to what I imagined his final model to look like. Just a bit more details on his arm and outfit, some changes to his hair, and I really like the added arm and chest hair. I think it looks nice. There's also this art by Averick Real on Reddit, and they just made Shiv look more like a monkey, which honestly looks pretty cool. We don't know Shiv's full backstory yet, but we do know that he used to commit some horrible crimes before going on his redemption arc and joining Baxter Society to hunt monsters. And I do believe that the rage he builds up to enhance his abilities is tied to him having some sort of a monster form, especially considering there is this unfinished model people found in the game files, which is literally more with Shiv's head strapped on. For now, the only indicator for Shiv building up his rage is that little vessel turning red, which is not very noticeable, especially if you are playing against him. It's actually quite hard to tell he has full rage just by looking at him. So I do hope that they will add some sort of a monster form for Shiv. And I wanted to show you this concept art by Iracat from the Deadlock forums. I think this red monkey look would be perfect, but I would probably prefer him to keep his clothes on. And I also think the smaller human version looks better overall, because I don't want his transformation to be similar to Silver's werewolf form. There's also this really cool fanart by Lemon Kiwi R on Reddit, also inspired by the unfinished model. After looking at those, I really hope we get something similar in the game eventually. Let's go a bit off topic, and instead of talking about characters, I will show you a redesign for one of Holiday's abilities. Holiday's model itself is also fine in my opinion. It is also a bit outdated and maybe needs some slight tweaks like Shiv, but I'm overall fine with her. But her bounce pad does piss me off. Like, why would a sheriff lady have this Fortnite-esque looking platform? So that's why I wanted to show you Enchanted Horseshoe by Human One from the Deadlock forums. First of all, Holiday using some magical horseshoe already makes more sense than a random fucking bounce pad. The author explains that lore could be they're normally used to enhance the agility of giant racehorses or something, which is, sure, I guess, still makes a lot more sense if you ask me, but also it just looks so much cooler, and I love the landing explosion effect, leaving a horseshoe mark on the ground. This would be a perfect little visual change for the game in my opinion. They would have to change a couple voice lines I guess, but that shouldn't be a problem. Hope we can see that in Deadlock one day. Okay, back to the characters, and of course we have to talk about Sinclair. A lot of people don't like Sinclair's model, but honestly I kind of fuck with it. It looks like some sort of a mannequin, and the animations look a bit awkward, but I agree that it does stand out too much compared to other characters, so maybe a redesign is needed. Take a look at this art by Bodler_ on Reddit. I think this looks very similar to what I would like to see in game. A more detailed suit with two different head variants for both Henry and Savannah, and I think it would be very cool to have both of them somehow represented in Sinclair's model. The little doodle also shows how the head slides down to reveal a different face, and that's a fantastic idea. The puppet strings also add a lot to this design, because at the end of the day it is Henry and Savannah controlling controlling this puppet body. And there is also this art for the ultimate ability. Sinclair takes the head off and stores the stolen ultimate inside of it. This whole concept is just a 10 out of 10 idea all around. For variety, here is another concept by Daystars77 from Reddit. This design kind of combines Henry and Savannah in one instead of having them change models, and also keeps the mannequin look. But this one is way more freaked out, and I kinda love it. Since we are talking about Sinclair, there's another design change I have to mention, and it's the custom rabbit models mod from Boss Chibi on Deadlock forums. This mod adds a unique rabbit model for every character when they get hexed by Sinclair, and it is fucking awesome. Look at those funny little guys. The author even included my goat Slork. My favorites are probably Pocket with the scarf and this tiny briefcase, Abrams with a sig and his tome, and Viscous, who is still a pile of goo but rabbit-shaped. This type of attention to details is what I expect from Valve, so I really hope they get inspired by this mod and actually add those unique models to the game. Next up is Vyper, another character that people desperately need a new model for. The current Vyper we have is very funny looking, we all love the Freaker, but I think everyone can agree that Vyper will get redesigned completely. Now, there are two ways they could go about it. Option 1 is Vyper that has legs, and option 2 is a more lizard-like Vyper, and I will show you concepts that portray both of those ideas. Here's one where Vyper keeps her legs, by Real LNK Plasm on Reddit. She has a cool jacket here with a knife holstered on her chest, her body is all covered in bandages. I also like the big tail she has here, the tail job build enjoyers are probably melting right now, and the V on her belt is also a really nice touch. A very cool design, and here she really looks like a criminal lizard person instead of a pet gecko. This design by Ref of Nao on Reddit is also pretty neat. I think she looks a lot more feminine in this one, which is something Deadlock team might go with, because she is a freaker after all. So the prison outfit with handcuffs looks super good, and the lash chain is just a cherry on top. I also like that she has a Tommy gun in this one. Considering her fire rate, the weapon is definitely supposed to be an SMG. This design by Demi Art is not full body, but I assume she has legs here too. The art itself is fucking insane. I love the art style here, and she genuinely looks so fucking scary in this one.
I'm sure I could fix her.
This one has the prison outfit again, but her body is a lot more lizard-like, which is sick. And the gun looking like a post-apocalyptic Mad Max weapon absolutely works. And of course, don't forget the lash tattoo. If we are doing Vyper with the legs, then this is probably my favorite take on her redesign. At the end of the day, Vyper is a crazy fucking serial murderer, and I think her design is supposed to be a tiny bit intimidating. Now, let's take a look at some designs with no legs. In my honest opinion, Vyper shouldn't have legs. I think the current animation they have for her sliding just looks goofy as fuck, and I'm like 82% sure they plan to make her slide with her tail, especially considering the snake-like movement. So take a look at this design by Marcus Rec on Blue Sky and tell me this isn't fucking sick. I think having a character with no legs like that would make Vyper stand out so much more, and it would be cool to have something like this in the game. The details on this model are also insanely cool. The ring piercing on her head, the sig in the mouth with her tongue sticking out, the corroded handcuffs, and as usual, the lash heart tattoo. I also really like the choice for her gun being Scorpion. Overall, I'm just a huge fan of that design. One person, Red Emser, also made a mod based on that concept art. So if you want to try it in-game, you can check it out. I leave links to everything I show in video in the description, by the way. Okay, just one more Vyper fanart, I promise. Design update by Lord Gay on Reddit, not sure if I pronounced it right. Another design with no legs, and another reason I want to see something similar in the game. This design is absolutely fantastic. The corroded stuff is present here as well. She has a purple tongue, and then there is purple corrosion on her handcuffs, and her weapon looks like it shoots with purple bullets. Then she also has a bag with poison in bottles and a pack of cigs in her pocket. The choice for the outfit is very unique here too, and her head or hood or whatever you call it is awesome as well. This thing she holds is petrifying bola, I assume, and of course there is a lash plus Vyper drawing on her body. I love how everyone just agreed to incorporate it in their drawings. Vyper is for real down bad. As you could probably figure out, I am team no legs, but let me know in the comments what you think about Vyper's potential redesign, because it seems like she is one of the most discussed characters on Reddit and forums when it comes to her visual rework. Bebop is a character who was confirmed by devs to get a new design eventually, and I get it, his current model is a leftover from Neon Prime, but I always thought he kind of fit fits in Deadlock, and honestly, with just a couple minor changes, I think he would be perfect for Deadlock's retro-futuristic vibe. I personally don't have much to say about him, but I really want to show you this art by the same artist who did the last Vyper art I showed you. This is a Bebop design reimagined, basically giving him an entirely different identity. The author says, instead of a sci-fi construct that is a remain of the Neon Prime era, I imagined him as a diver corpse possessed by an underwater entity/spirit. The nautical theme suits quite well for his abilities too, and in my opinion it also fits better with the occultism theme that I love about the game. Bebop is a very complicated character, and devs still can't fully figure out how to balance his kit in the game. So I think there is a non-zero probability that we will get a complete rework for Bebop, but I really doubt that they will make him something that's not a robot. I believe they want Bebop's identity to be a kind clanker. So I agree with comments people left under this post saying that this works amazing as a skin for him. But I do think that this design is absolutely awesome. This could honestly be an entirely new character. I love that his arm is a sea mine, and I imagine that he uses that anchor as a hook. So yes, I do love this design, but I think it's unlikely that Valve will take that direction with Bebop's character. And now I hope that they hire this person as an artist for skins, because holy shit. And finally, the last character I want to talk about is our precious boy Viscous. There's actually an old leak for a new Viscous model that looked like this, and it seems like in general people did not like that one. And I mean, yeah, that is not really what I imagine final Viscous model to look like. I guess the idea here is that other characters refer to Viscous as a tourist, and they wanted to give him that touristy look, but I just don't really like that specific model. So check out this art by Upstairs Shape from Reddit. As you know, Viscous comes from the deep, which is an underwater dimension, and I think incorporating more of that into his design is much cooler. And the author even included some details from that leak, like a camera inside his body. Viscous himself is something like a little octopus here, surrounded by a goo body, and he is sitting in a diver's metal helmet. But I also just found out that Viscous is supposed to be a sea animal, which is that thing. And I'm not entirely sure how that could be portrayed. And I love those big boots he wears too. Here is an art for his abilities that I think all look fantastic, and him not having a gun and shooting goo from his body also fits a lot more, because he currently has Kelvin's gun model. Here's another very cute design by After the Egg. This one also keeps the sea theme, and his weapon is like a water gun here. Once again, Viscous himself is sitting inside a diver's helmet and has sea plants growing out of it. But I don't know if I like his basically second head to be on his stomach. I think it might be a bit confusing for enemies, and if shooting it doesn't count as headshots, it might be a bit misleading for gameplay, but it does look very cute and friendly, which is what Viscous design is supposed to be. That is it for the video. Thanks for watching, and as usual, let me know if you enjoyed the video, and if that's the case, like and subscribe and all that stuff. But I want to let you know that I'm probably not going to make another part of that, because I kind of talked about everything I had in mind. So yeah, bye.